Hey guys, it's Dr. April Lynch coming to you from Bluegrass Veterinary Hospital here in lovely Gallatin, Tennessee. And I have a request for you. Stop. Please don't get that new pet yet. This is the time of year when people are opening boxes of puppies and boxes of kittens or even more wild and exotic creatures. And I love that energy, and certainly that is what my job is about, to promote that human-animal bond and to celebrate with you and help you keep that pet healthy and happy. However, if you have not yet purchased your pet, if you are thinking about any time in the future getting a dog, a cat, or something more exotic, please stop and consider these points that I'm going to make for you today. First, and more importantly, research. Get online and learn as much as you can about this specific animal. Even with dogs, there's so many different breeds, and each of them have wonderful things about them, but also maybe some health issues, or maybe this one isn't great with children and this one is very protective. All of these things you need to know. So right now, trending, the #1 breed most popular in the United States is now the French Bulldog. They have dethroned the Golden Retriever after all of these years. And that's something to celebrate and also something to be very concerned about. The French Bulldog is a lovely, loving pet. They're small, they're cute, they've got the big ears, the wrinkles. However, as a veterinarian, I must tell you, if you don't already know this, they come with a plethora of health issues, skin issues, allergies, autoimmune disease. They can struggle to breathe. Their airways are small and short and flat. Their joints are weird. So please do your research. Just because they're cute doesn't mean they are the right pet for your family. Other things to consider. If you travel a lot, think about this, even for a dog. Dogs are wonderful pets, but they are pack animals. You need to understand that about them. They do not enjoy being separated from their people, from their pack, on a regular basis. Now, being at work all day is one thing because you're still home with them at night and they can adjust to that pretty easily. But if you travel and you're gone for 5, 6, 7 days in a row on a regular basis, it may not be fair to a dog to stay at home and be by themselves while you're away. This might just not be the season for you or your family to have a dog. And did you know that a lot of exotic animals might be illegal to own in your state or your country, or even if they are legal to own, you may have to apply for a special permit and go through a lot of procedures or training to even be able to legally own that animal. This is something that you need to research and know before you purchase an exotic animal. And remember, just because it's legal in the state of Tennessee to own an ostrich doesn't mean that you need to own one. Sorry, I just had to do it. One of my best tips for if you are going to seek out an exotic breed or an exotic reptile or an axolotl or something that maybe not a lot of people know about, join an online group on social media or Facebook of other people who own that animal. They are such an invaluable resource to tell you, oh, you're using the wrong type of water, or here's the type of feed that I use, here's the picture of my setup, and you can model what they have done, follow them, maybe even help them or learn from their mistakes. Highly recommend doing that even before you get that pet, just so you know what you're getting into. Also, ask a professional. Ask your veterinarian, ask other people that you know that have owned this type of pet, and that's also really good information. And then lastly, I would say, ask your family or people that you value their input if they think that this animal is a good fit for your family. And you can take that with a grain of salt, but it is good just to have some objective people saying, hey, I think that would be great, I give you my blessing, or hey, you know, this doesn't seem like it would work out great for your family, and you can just add all of that into your data bank and then make your decision from there. After you've done all of this really important background work, step #2 is start gathering the supplies that you need and the savings, the money. Don't wait until you have the pet and then say, oh my goodness, I didn't know that I needed a $500 crate for this tortoise. That's not the time. You have to have all of these things or be prepared to get these things in advance. And I highly recommend, once again, hitting the books. going online, researching, asking other people for their advice and what these things cost for them, and doing that homework. You don't have to buy everything, but at least know what you're getting into before you bring the animal home. Oftentimes here at the veterinary hospital, we get a phone call from a well-intentioned person who has just brought a kitten home. Now, I'm not talking about someone who found a kitten and is being a good Samaritan. I'm talking about someone who intentionally went out and adopted a kitten, but they don't have anything to feed the kitten or even know what they're supposed to feed the kitten. They don't have kitten food, milk replacer, or anything that's appropriate for a kitten. And oftentimes they will come in and they have told us, well, this is what I fed the kitten. Can you guess what it is? Cow's milk. That's not an appropriate diet for a kitten. So again, it's just a simple step of knowing what you need and having it on hand before you have the animal. For some of those exotic pets, such as I own an axolotl, there is a lengthy setup process that you have to have completed before you bring the animal home. So you may not know this, but most aquatic pets, even fish, and certainly our axolotl, they have to have their water called primed. Okay, that's what we call it. That means it has to meet certain parameters for ammonia, nitrate, pH, and all these things. And this can be a long process. I kid you not, it can take weeks to get your water in the exact correct parameters to get ready for your aquatic pet to come home. Weeks. And you have to have that ready in advance. So lastly, after you've done all your homework and all of your research and you've saved and you've made your list of all the things that you need, or you've started accumulating those things, then the last thing I want you to do is just wait a little bit longer. So maybe it's a week, maybe it's a month, maybe it's just, giving yourself a little bit more time and consideration. And here's why I say this. The last thing that we want you to do is to get a pet on impulse. Sometimes that works out. I get it. Absolutely, sometimes it does. But a lot of times it doesn't. And when it doesn't, it sometimes could lead to the pet not being cared for, or suffering, or dying, or getting sick, or the pet being surrendered. And certainly that's both a negative experience for you and for the pet, and that's what we don't want. So don't just go out and get a new pet on impulse just because it seems cool. So don't be like me. I'll be your cautionary tale. My kids and I really enjoy attending the Exotic Pet Expo that they have in Nashville a couple of times a year, the Reptile Pet Expo. And in going to one of these, I discovered or rediscovered an animal that I had been acquainted with long ago. I had met a kinkajou on my honeymoon many, many years ago. And someone, a breeder, was selling a kinkajou at the Pet Expo. Now, you may be asking, what is a kinkajou? Good question. They are a nocturnal tree-dwelling mammal that is very closely related to the raccoon or the quadrumundi. So I met this animal again, saw that it was available, got to hold it, talked to the breeder about it, and decided that I was going to adopt this kinkajou. However, I listened to my own advice and I said, I'm going to wait. I'm not going to get it today. I'm going to go do a little research. It was hard to walk away because who knows if this opportunity would present itself to me again. And I know that is part of our motivation, right? I did some research. I spoke to a lot of colleagues, both people that I knew and just people that I was seeking advice from online, other veterinarians. And I asked them, what is your opinion about owning a kinkajou? And overwhelmingly, the response was, don't do it. The response that I got was, they're not friendly, they're very difficult to maintain, they're noisy, they don't bond, and of course the animal was extremely expensive and required a setup that was beyond really what I could handle. And they cost thousands of dollars. But let's back up for a moment. Do you remember that I said they are a nocturnal tree-dwelling mammal? Is that something that belongs in my living room, or should that animal live out its days in the jungle? So I'm very thankful that I came to my senses, but I was this close to bringing home the kinkajou, which I'm almost certain would have been a disastrous mistake for both me, my family, and the poor kinkajou. So don't be like me, or be like me in that you stop yourself, even though it's so tempting. And this is something that I had thought about before. I had met these animals before. I had done some research on them. I had thought about it. I'm an adult. I have my own job, my own home, but I would have been making a grave mistake. So knowing the specific details for your exotic pet is so important, and sometimes what is required to keep them is just beyond the scope of what is reasonable, whether for your situation or for most people. I know the video game Minecraft has popularized the poor axolotl, the aquatic salamander that was peacefully living in one random stream in Mexico all of its life, and now it's everywhere, all over pet stores in the US. But let me tell you, they are one of the hardest animals that I can fathom to maintain. They are not for a novice. They live in water that has to be maintained at 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Very cold, okay? And you have to keep that water chilled or they do not thrive. So just know what you're getting into, do your research. Some of this is so complicated and it's just better left for someone else to do. And research and find what fits you, what works for your family. Maybe it is one of those wild exotic animals. Maybe you would be great with an axolotl. What's your jam? What pet would work great in your home? There's definitely something out there for you, maybe 5 or 6 different things. And we celebrate that here at Bluegrass Veterinary Hospital. We love exotic pets and exotic breeds. We have so many breeders that come in here with lots of unusual types of cats and dogs that we get really excited about seeing, and exotic pets. Oh goodness, we've seen so many exotic pets here at Bluegrass and we love to see them. We've seen, of course, snakes and hamsters and ferrets and tortoises and even a pot-bellied pig and rabbits. Just the list goes on. And we love seeing exotic pets. We love helping you with your exotic pets. So if the time comes and you've done your research and you know that it's going to be a good fit, please call us, come see us. We want to celebrate that moment with you, that milestone, because it is so exciting and rewarding to own these pets. I hope this information has been helpful to you. Please drop us a comment and let us know, do you have an exotic pet? What is it? What's its name? I would love to see your comments and would be happy to respond to you. Like and subscribe if you haven't already so you can catch our next video. And until then, good luck doing your research. I can't wait to hear about your exotic pet adventures. See y'all later.